With this video, I want to talk a little bit about the order, and this is after some experimentation on my own and theories or whatever data in there about how to order the process of how you say the statements. I know Dr. Len and Joe and different people say it doesn't matter how you say it, in what order, just say it. And I agree with that. And I also agree that there's something else going on, and that if you play with this a little bit, that what'll happen in your body if you go through a certain order, and we're going to get through a definition of each one of these, but the first thing I want to do is to go into why I believe this order is the proper order and what it might do for you. Again, you can play with it and do it whatever order you want. These are just things that give you an idea to change the order, play with it, and see what happens inside of yourself by lining up these states in a certain order when you do Ho'oponopono, and see what happens with you. Something for you to do, a little bit of entertainment. Let me know what the results are. Tell me what happens if you try it in this order. So the model that I have set up here is the brown lines, imagine, are the Aka lines, the lines that go back and forth between us and everything in the universe, back and forth. So within that, we are looking to kind of send an energy through those lines. And the biggest energy, the most enveloping energy that's going to go through it, and imagine for this part of it that the energy is going this way, it's flowing this way, even though the lines go back and forth kind of like a telephone line or a cable modem line or something like that. The energy goes back and forth for the idea of a model that if love is the biggest one, it encompasses thank you. Thank you is within love. Forgiveness is within love. Sorry is within love. So love is really the big thing. Love is really the one that's going to go through and, so to speak, lubricate. It's going to lubricate the Aka flowing through there. It's the first thing that's going to hit people with it. Now I'm looking at this as a packet, okay? And within the packet of how do we say the statements so that we open it up to the point where we go, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's sending off. So what you're doing is progressively opening up bigger and bigger states inside of yourself. So as you go through the process of I'm sorry, that opens up something into you. But then if you add on top of that forgiveness, and again, we're going to talk about the meaning of each one of these things. They're going to mean something different than they are to you than they are going to be to me. However, there's processes that if you play with the process of, as you're saying, I'm sorry, to line up certain things in you, it feels different and experiences it different in your body, but also we may then begin to have commonality. The technology of cooperation is about like getting common meanings of this. If I say I'm going to run to the store, how am I going to run to the store? How fast am I going to run to the store? Am I going to run actually, or am I going to run in my car? My engine is running in my car. Is it really running like this, or is it running? So we've got 25 or so different meanings of run in the dictionary. And when we say statements, we want to come to some kind of coordination, some kind of cooperation on what the meanings are, more so what the process is. And so I'm going to look at the process of it. So when we say I'm sorry, we open something up. When we put forgive me and put forgiveness there, now we're opening up something even more. Now we go into gratitude. Thank you. Gratitude, opening up. I love you. You've opened up everything. But underneath it, to me, again, the highest of them is love. So all these fall underneath love. If you can open all these up and then open up this, you've incorporated everything together. You've opened them all up. So again, this is my theory. As you go through it, as we explain this, you'll see how this is. Give another idea. Imagine it going down through as a complete unit, okay? Not just half a unit, but what if we took this around and we surrounded it with red? So if I just said the whole capsule is red, and then yellow, and then the purple, and then the green. So what we're doing is we're sending a capsule, but the love is lubricating to get through there. It gets through there very easy. But if we look at it this way, if we take it this way, and we're afraid of I'm sorry, we don't want to do this one. I'm sorry and forgive me. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people said, I don't want to say I'm sorry. I am. I don't want to say I am sorry. It's like saying God's sorry. Or I've got nothing to be sorry about. They really have some issues with this. And the way I think about this is imagine that if you've got like a pipe here, what's going to happen? That's going to kind of dig into the walls and not let it go. So if you have an issue, which I call this like a clog, and talk about clogged pipes, plumbing, clogged arteries, and things like that, what happens? Something digs in, something begins to accumulate on the walls, and then clogs it up and blocks the alkaline. So you can have these other things over here, the love, the forgiveness, and the thank you, but if this is blocking it, and this is what needs to open up, the I'm sorry part of it, and you're not open up, how is this going to travel through there? Again, this is my theory. I could be full of crap. It could be something totally different. If you'll play with this a little bit, play with the idea of starting off with I'm sorry. It creates in us what they say is humility, and that's not to be humiliated. That's totally different to be humiliated, but humility, it brings us down to a part of acceptance and open up, like we talk about going in with the inner child, of saying, I'm sorry. I am sorry. And we'll talk about the I am sorry and how to open that up a little bit more in a little while. But I hope you get the idea that this whole thing there of not stopping and going into a place of saying, I'm responsible for that. I am sorry for that. If I did that to you or I did that, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. And even if you meant it and you see the consequences, you come back and you go, I don't like how that went. I'm really sorry I did that. And it's the idea of getting that, opening that up, because once you do that, then you say, please forgive me. So you first admitted and said, I know there's a point. And if somebody says to me, look, will you forgive me, or I love you, or whatever, and we're going through a conversation, until I really hear that sorry tells me, I realize what I did to you. I get what I did to you. I get the effect of what I did to you. I am sorry. What does that do? That opens me up to hear when he says, or she says, please forgive me. She gets what I'm feeling. They get what they did to me, or I did to myself, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah, I can start working on that forgiveness now. I can work on giving you that forgiveness. Why? Because we started with I'm sorry. Then we go to forgiveness. Then we go to like, okay, forgive me. I'm asking you, will you recognize that I am sorry? Will you give me something in return for that? Will you give me an acknowledgement that you won't hold anything against me for what I did? Will you forgive me for that? Thank you. Thank you for this happening. Gratitude now, to the point now we're opening up and expanding even more into the positive that we've cleaned this up here. I'm sorry. And then ask for forgiveness. We got forgiveness going. We got the lines are starting to clear. They're becoming clean. Thank you. Gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting this work itself out. Thank you for clearing that data, those memories. I'm sorry for the memory. I'm sorry for the data in you. I'm sorry for the data in me that did that to the data in you. You're going back. You're starting to clear up. You're acknowledging. This is data. I'm not going to hold to it, that there's not going to be something inside of me that I'm going to say is more worth, my pride is more worth than your opening up and your feelings and my acknowledgement to you of what happened in that process. This begins to open the memory up. I'm sorry for the data to be cleaned. Forgive me. Forgiveness coming in, starting to clean this. Gratitude that this happened. Gratitude that all this is happening. And then the openness of love. After the gratitude of love, I love you. I love you. Back to love. So through this process of forgiveness, we go back to love. We're going through the process of forgiveness, through I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, goes back around to I love. So within that capsule, now we're surrounding it all with love, and it travels through, cleans the line. Think about playing with this order. If you've got another order, that's fine as well. I think you're going to get some amazing results if you start working on what this is and go through that. And when you're with people and you're doing this process, it doesn't necessarily have to be with your mouth. A lot of people are afraid to even say it inside their minds. Say it inside, they're repeating it quietly inside their minds. This to me is the biggest breakthrough for a lot of people, because it's the biggest clog in the lines is I'm sorry, and to recognize, okay, it's data, that really who I am is clear. It's like that piece of glass with the flashlight shining through it. I am not going to align myself egotistically, whatever that means. Identity, my identity is not in the data anymore. I'm sorry. That's not my data. It's in me. I will take responsibility for what it's done. However, I don't want to align with that, because I really am clear. I am that glass. I'm where the divine goes through me. So I don't want to keep my identity in this, and I'm willing to say I'm sorry. I'm willing to apologize. I'm willing to separate myself for that, and at the same time take responsibility for it. It's a proactive thing. You're moving in a direction of, like, the idea of not saying I'm sorry. What's the implications of that? I didn't do that. That's not me. So how can you get forgiveness for something you never recognized that was you? How do you get the thanks and then the love? It kind of stops in this idea. I'm not willing to say I'm sorry. Why? Because why should I do that to that person? They did that to me. Well, wait a minute. If it's your world, your reality, then you're 100% responsible. The two different things is are you going to be the victim, or are you going to be proactive and say, I take 100% responsibility? In our world and where we live, it may have been their fault. It may exactly have been their fault, but we're talking about how you process this information in your mind, in your body, in your spirit. That in a court of law, you may have got awarded a big amount of money for the injury that was done to you. But in the court of Ho'oponopono, in the court of the bigger picture, how do I process this information to clean it up, to clear it up? And you start off by saying, okay, even though I feel like it maybe on one level it did happen to me, I'm going to take responsibility for this data and my interpretation of the data. That's a big one. Part of the 100% responsibility, the big part is my interpretation of what really happened is my data. My data made the data that interpreted this way. I am sorry for that. So on one level you can keep that, but on another level I'm saying, what if you integrate this and say, I'm not the victim to that data. The data is the data. It is what it is. It's not part of me. I have no problems, no issues saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you.